Hey, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing great.
Sean, nice to see you.
My pleasure.
Doing all right, Cameron.
Hey,
Can you hear
Sarah.
me?
Hey.
All right. Well, for those of you who have been here before, this is our second episode of this. Basically, all we're doing 100% focused on Sarah here and what she has done to kind of get where she is in the business, her journey. And we will jump in. Let's give a couple more minutes. I'm going to give 2 more minutes, see if anybody else logging in, and then we'll jump right in. All right, so I had a couple more people join in. We'll go ahead and get rolling. Like I said, this is just our Powerhouse Perspectives Interview Series, where interviewing some top agents in our market, kind of going through their journey through the process when they started, how they got where they were. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Aucoin. If you don't know Sarah, she works with Coldwell Banker, TEC, and been in the business for a while, has grown tremendously. And Sarah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me.
So we're going to jump right in. A few questions off the bat. The first question we all get in this city: where are you from and where'd you go to high school?
I'm born and raised uptown New Orleans. I went to Cabrini High School on Bayou St. John. And I feel like growing up in the city has entrenched me and just grown a love for this city that is just so profound. And I think that is what has enabled me to become a top producer in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but how did you get started in real estate?
So I was a stenographer and sitting quiet. If anybody who knows me, sitting quietly in the back of a courtroom, it it wasn't for me. And but I did it for a long time, and I just decided to make a change, and it was really difficult, and to make that drastic of a change, it was definitely a shift. But I decided in 2017, and it was really just kind of like a happenstance where another one of my friends, she also had decided, she had just moved back to New Orleans and was going through divorce, and she said that she was thinking about real estate, and our worlds kind of just collided right there. And we both took the test together, and we both got the book, and 30 days later, we both passed the test.
So you just jumped in, you had a friend doing it at the same time.
Well, I had been thinking about it. I was definitely not happy as a stenographer. I was just not doing well. And I knew that it wasn't for me way early on, and I stuck it out for years and years when I definitely shouldn't have. And I even did a career day at Cabrini when I went back to do the career day. And that was one of the main things that I was telling them, that you can put that with any situation in your life, whether it be relationships or your career or anything. If something's really not working, you can take the same person that's terrible at one thing and switch them to something that is actually meeting their experience level, and you can make a very successful person out of that.
So, and your fit is absolutely real estate, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Personality.
1000%. I don't know why I didn't do it from right out of the gate.
What was your expectation going in? Kind of day one, you passed your test. What was your first thought?
So I actually so my husband's a CPA for Entergy. And I even remember telling him, like, maybe someday I'll make even more money than you do. And he was like, no, absolutely not. That's never going to be a thing. I mean, he didn't say exactly like that, but he was basically just like, focus on, one foot in front of the other. And I did take that advice. But here I am now. But yeah, so I definitely, I mean, I could say I definitely pictured myself as a top producer from the very front, but I just really focused on education and meeting my clients at the level that they were at, and I just focused on, like my husband said, one foot in front of the other.
Nice. I'm sure there's a competition there between.
Oh, I mean, well, not anymore. So
there you go. I like it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's jump in kind of into your journey as a real estate agent.
Yes.
From day one to where you are today. And I want to talk about like some specifics of actions that you took to get where you are from beginning to now.
Yeah, so I am a part of the Junior League of New Orleans, and it's a women's organization. It's dedicated to promoting volunteerism and developing the potential of women. And I was at a Junior League meeting when I was expressing how I was just not super happy in my career, and I was thinking about making a change. And someone haphazardly just mentioned Janet Favreau, who is a member of the Junior League, and I literally cold called her. I looked her name, her phone number up, and I asked her to meet me at Martin's, and she did. And I took the test, and I passed the test 30 days later, and I went to one of her open houses. I held an open house for her, and I got a client from that very first open house, and then I had a $500,000 house under contract 30 days later. So, and I, for that whole first year, I clung to the coattails of the powerful women around me that, that definitely Janet Favreau, but also Helga Isolé, definitely Ginger Wiggins, and Amanda Hanneman. They all of those people shaped me as an agent, and I was just trying to absorb as much information, as much strategy as possible from all of them, and they have built me into the successful agent that I am today.
So, and how many years have you been in the business? So
I've been in the business since 2017, but I actually became active in 2018. So 18 and 19 were, I think I did like 13 transactions my first year. And then I think I did like probably 15 my second year. And then the third year, I went up very quickly. So
talk through year 3 is when you started to skyrocket.
So yeah, year 3 is really the first year that I had really built my client base at that point. And I had really built my foundation for being an agent. And I realized that I needed to focus on education and the relationship with my clients, and that was the biggest catalyst to actually getting me to the closing table. Because you can be charismatic and you can be, funny and all the things all day long, but if you don't really have that intel and that knowledge and that really support system for your clients, because realistically, most of your clients are going to be first-time home buyers, and most of your sellers are going to be first-time home sellers. So they really need you to hold their hand, be informative of the process. I mean, we're almost therapists as agents and mortgage lenders. So knowing that and being really sensitive to that, it definitely has helped me get to the closing table all those times.
Any specifics between years 2 and say 4 where you changed something with your process?
So I started, I really am, you're going to hear me talk a lot about education of my clients. And in year 3, I started making binders for each of my listings. And I would put all of the most commonly asked questions literally on the front page. What's the age of the HVAC, the roof, the water heater, the whole home? What are their taxes? What is their insurances? What flood zone are they in? Are they in an HOA? All of those things I will put in each person that walks in the door's hands, so they have all of that knowledge. And I even put it in the agent remarks on the MLS. So an agent that is showing the house, or even haven't even shown the house yet, they'll be able to have that information. They'll be able to pass it on to their client seamlessly. And I do genuinely think that helps get the listing under contract at a much faster rate. And more than that, though, I also put a lot of supplemental information into that binder. I put the realist property reports. I put all their disclosures and the things that you normally would see, the MLS. And then, but I add a lot of very helpful information for that prospective buyer to help them make an educated decision in a more, fast and efficient way.
What about insurance quotes? Do you put insurance in there?
I absolutely put insurance in there, and
Good.
especially I started doing that a few years ago, but now in today's market, it has become extremely important, specifically if your roof is over 5 years old. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I've definitely had listings and buying agents or buying clients fall through specifically because of insurance.
Yeah, I think we've all made it a point to get those insurance quotes up front when you're going in looking at a house.
Right.
And that's been super helpful. Y'all, I've seen these binders. Some of them are huge. It's got all the information in them, but it helps us from our side too, that buyer knows going in exactly what's going on with the house. It's been very helpful. I've seen it from my side too.
And I do want to add, when my client buys a house, that's the big binder where I include all of the necessary. I basically call it a homeowner's manual, and I add all of their insurances. I add their entire property inspection report, all of these things, their entire appraisal. And it makes me so happy when I come back to a client about 5 years later and they still have their binder full of all the things over the years that they've added to it. And I've increased the size of the binder specifically so they can keep it and they can add stuff to it, and it helps them remember me, because realistically, a lot of times somebody would have used their previous agent had they just been able to remember them. So I put it in their hands at closing, this entire binder that I have made for them. It is a little bit time consuming, but that's my assistant Paige is amazing with that, and she helps me tremendously with those binders. And it really helps educate my client on what their house holds. And it also is good for in the case of evacuation. They can grab it. They already have all of their insurance, all of their utilities. They grab it and they go. So you don't have to be thumbing through your email in nowhere, Mississippi, when you're worried about your roof caving in. So
the amount of insurance policies we pull up to get people their insurance agent contact information, that would be helpful.
Right. And
we're going to touch on your team here in a second.
Okay.
So next thing, as far as like staying on top of current trends, latest trends or developments in our market, what do you have any particular resources you use, or what do you do to stay on top of our market here?
Well, of course, the mortgage market update. Monday mortgage market update.
There we go.
I'm really not just yanking your chain. That mortgage market update you can count on it every Monday, sometimes Tuesday if Monday's a holiday. But it is helpful, and it is imperative that you stay up to date on your market, and it's very important that all the current trends and what's going on, because that is going to be questions that your clients are going to be asking you. And if you can't answer those questions, you don't want that air of suspicion. You want to be able to answer all of their questions effectively and efficiently. And, of course, if you don't know, you got to say you don't know, and you're going to look it up and get back to them quickly. But it's better to just know. And then more so than that, I definitely use the MLS tracker. It shows exactly what the averages are in the entire MLS. And then I like to look at each of the area codes and stay up to date on what is selling, what is pending, how many active sales closed, etc. And that's definitely something that I keep it's a feather that I keep in my hat and my cap. More than that, I think it's just very important to actually know your market. And unfortunately, it is difficult to teach that, because it's something that you have to actually do. You have to be selling in certain markets. You have to be doing a lot of work in each of those fields to really understand how the market is fluctuating, because New Orleans can be drastically different from neighborhood to neighborhood.
Yeah,
And
let's touch on that. So I see you work Luling, West Bank. When we say greater New Orleans area,
I literally mean the
outside
greater.
of that.
I'll sell as far as Folsom. I'll sell as low as Buras. I'll sell almost all the way to Mississippi, and then I'll go all the way to Reserve. And then, but I mean, the majority of my homes that I sell are in the main greater metropolitan area, which is Metairie, Kenner, New Orleans, Uptown, and the West Bank. But I definitely have sold many homes in the surrounding areas. So yeah.
I mean, those market trends, like the market here might be different than the market. Like,
so you can take the market exploded obviously in 2020, 2021, 2022. In that time, it was an extreme seller's market. But at the same time, you had the French Quarter, which had just gone through the Airbnb flip, and you couldn't get a property sold in the French Quarter for most of 2021 and 2022. You could get bargain basement type deals in the quarter because there was so much inventory, because all of these Airbnbs had decided to sell. And while you had the majority of New Orleans on the market, I think we had like a 1-day absorption rate. But then in the French Quarter, just a few blocks away, you couldn't get a very nice condo to sell for $200,000. So,
well, you kind of led into my next question, adapting and in the changing markets. Everybody had a great year the past couple of years. This past year in particular, the market's shifted. We've all seen it. We've all experienced that. What have you done to adapt your business in this changing market? I think we can kind of accept that the market we're in right now
it's different.
It's our market.
Yeah. I mean, last year I sold 15.5 million. And I think at this point I was approaching 10 million last year. I think this year I think I'm at like I haven't looked. I should have looked at my numbers, but I think I'm probably around like 5 million or so. And I've had a lot of cancellations. I've had a lot. Like I said, a lot of it has to do with the insurance, and there are ebbs and flows with every profession, and I think we are in a little bit of an ebb. Last year and the year before, we were definitely booming, but that's not to say that this year is a bust. I think we are just normalizing, and I don't foresee a huge drop or a huge shift. I just think that as we are right now, we are just coming into that normal average market that realistically we probably should be in and is most comfortable for America. So,
and any specifics, any things you've changed, like with your business strategy to keep up with this market, to kind of shift your business plan?
Yes. I've because you can lower the price all day, right? But there are other things that you can do to get your listing sold. And I I ask that to my clients before saying, hey, let's do, a $5,000 or $10,000 price reduction. Why don't we do a $5,000 rate buy down plus a few $1,000s in between $1,000 and $5,000 to an agent thinking get the property under contract in X amount of time. I do, and then marketing that as hard as possible, sending flyers. Even they may be annoying and people probably just delete them out of their inbox as fast as I can send them, but some of them have stuck, and all you need is one. So I definitely have employed because you can reduce the price, but reducing a price isn't going to be as effective as offering a rate buy down, because that is going to alter a buyer's monthly note sometimes, a lot of times, more drastically than just a price reduction will.
We've formally broken down the numbers side by side, compared a price reduction versus either a permanent rate buy down or even one of those temporary rate buy downs. The numbers, the savings far outweigh the price reduction from the buyer side. And that's absolutely a tool in the toolbox.
Right.
Sounds like that's something you've been utilizing.
Yes. Yes.
So got, let's say, about 9 more minutes here in our interview, and then we're going to switch to a Q&A, see if anybody has any particular questions. But before we get there, let's touch on work-life balance. So Bear's new to the world.
He's 8 months old.
How has that changed, or what do you do as far as balancing work, maybe work times 2 plus life?
Well, I am an amazing real estate agent, but I definitely am still working on how to figure out the work-life balance. I feel like I have figured it out. I'm 8 months in. I actually did purposely have my child in the end of the year because that is the slowest time.
How strategic.
I know. Well, I mean, I am very serious about real estate. So, and so I strategically had him in October, at the end of October. So I would be able to have those months with him before the market really got back into full swing. And really what I do is I spend a lot of mornings with him because most people don't want to buy houses very early in the morning. So I will take that time in the morning, and he is going to be going to St. George's in August, which, oh my gosh. So that is definitely going to be a transition that's going to leave me with some more time to fill with real estate things, but I'm trying the best I can. I'm a brand new mom. I feel like I learned how to do real estate very quickly. So I'm hoping I learn how to be a mom just as fast.
Well, so when I hear you talk about that, and I'm just going to speak frankly, but
yeah,
everybody has this idea of work-life balance, but you've grown your career so quick and so well that maybe not having as much of a balance has worked in your favor as far as growing your career. You've put your focus on that and it shows, right?
Right. I mean, it really takes a village. And this is the first grandchild of all of my parents, basically. And I really have a strong village behind me. And without my husband, without my Aunt Linda, who watches him every day, and without the endless help of my mom, my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law, and my dad, and my stepmom, they are all at the ready to help in any way they can. I mean, and it more than just watching my son, it's coming and helping with laundry and helping with really anything that they can that has made my husband, of course, my husband is the most amazing father. He is my backbone, and without him, I would not be where I am today whatsoever. So with him and with our family, it's what I've built today.
We'll give Nick a quick shout out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch over to your team. So you got Paige on board. What was that transition like of first finding somebody to bring on, and when in your head did you decide it's time to bring somebody else on board?
So I originally I had a different assistant when in 2021, and she was amazing, but she was just a little bit too busy. She was also a full-time agent, and I really needed someone who I could take from the ground up and really take under my wing and teach them the ropes, but also they were still young and new, so we could focus on the education more than just helping clients. So I walked away from my first agent right at the beginning of 2022, and Paige just happened to come on the scene. And I had been talking to Paige earlier in 2021 about maybe becoming my assistant, and then she took the test and graduated. And she has been absolutely amazing. She is definitely a reason that I was so successful in 2022. She was just so reliable, so helpful. And I hope that I have taught her every single thing that I know and helped to further her career in the best way possible. And I also want to talk about my photographer. Her name is Ashley George, and she's with AK7 Productions. And she was a big switch in 2022, and her photography, her staging, she has a drone, the way that she does her layouts, all of that I have added to each of my listings has definitely increased the viability of my listings on the market, because it just shows the properties in such a good light and just gets people in the door. And I think with the combination of Paige and Ashley is the reason why I was able to be such a top producer in 2022.
That's a good point. Photography.
Photography is yes, because you can market all day long, but if you don't have quality images to show, then it's all for naught.
Yeah, well, let's lead in to the second half. We just finished Q2 of 2023. We're getting into the second half of the year. What are your expectations in our market if you had a forecast, say, for the rest of the year?
I think that we're still going to see pretty high numbers until around August. People don't like to move when the kids go back to school. So I think everybody really is. I've even in this week, I've seen a drastically higher numbers of showings going on in my listings. So I do think July and August we'll still see very high numbers, and I do think it'll cool off as we get to the fall. But like I said earlier, I don't think that it's gonna bust. I think that we're just gonna go into that normal ebb and flow that we're used to.
Yeah, as far as home prices go, I think when you look at like the actual reports coming out, and this is nationwide, home prices are back to increasing. We had 2, maybe 3 months of small decrease in home prices. That's already reversed. We're coming back up.
Right.
We expect that to continue through the end of the year.
I think that it will increase, and then I do think that it's going to level out, like I was saying.
It's seasonal.
Seasonal, it's definitely seasonal, but I mean, I was looking at the MLS, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see how many houses still are selling at the numbers that we're used to. I was expecting them to come down a little bit, and we haven't really seen that yet. I do think that we're going to see it a little bit in the future, but like I was saying, I do think that we're going to climb a little bit more in July and August, and then I think we're going to level out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it seems like you talked about this week, Wednesday, coming out of the 4th of July, the 5th, floodgates open.
Right.
Everybody wants pre-approved. Everybody's going out. We need pre-approval before this weekend.
Yes.
That's just the nature of it, the seasonal part to it. And I'm curious how next year will be with the 4th of July on a Wednesday. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
So last question for you, kind of your biggest piece of advice to succeeding in this market.
My biggest piece of advice is to have a good mentor. My mentors are the reason I am successful, full stop. Learning from them, gathering as much information from them, that is the biggest key. Now, from that, you do have to be able to parlay that into working with your clients. And my strategy, moreover than anything, is educating your clients and really making them fully available with all of the steps in front of them, knowing what their needs, what their wants are, what their limitations are, really to educate them with the full process right out of the gate, making sure that they know when the deposits due, when the inspections are going to be, what all of their options are in each of those steps. When someone knows the steps in front of them, they are much more likely to take them in an effective and efficient manner. Now, after that, really becoming like close with your, not close, but close with your clients, making them your friends and making them feel comfortable with you and being able to express everything that they want to. If they're afraid to tell you something, that's not going to be, it's not going to work out well. So education of your clients and building those relationships with your clients is extremely important. I mean, like I said earlier, we're almost therapists. We are transacting the largest purchase of their life. They are going to be stressed. They are going to be scared. And you have to be able to take their hand and lead them through the process in a calm, effective, efficient manner, and you will get to the closing table.
Let me ask, does that relationship stop once the transaction's closed?
Absolutely not. And that's another reason for the binder. And then for my sellers, I do give them a very nice gift that's engraved, that has all of my information. And then I do want to tell you that I also email them a complete package of everything that's in the binder for my sellers and for my buyers. So they will still have that one email that has everything. It's usually a Google Drive that has every single thing in it that through their entire transaction in soft copy and in hard copy, because it's imperative that they remember you. Because like I said, I looked back a while ago at a statistic that said that most people would have used their previous agent if they just remembered who they were and had their contact. Now in this day and age, you probably are a little bit more likely to have them saved in your phone, etc. But if I'm right in front of them with that binder or with my emails that I send my sellers, I think they're more likely to remember me and use me in the future.
That's a good note, the Google Drive. So
Yes.
You probably use a Google Drive for holding all your files for you too.
Right.
It probably makes it super easy and simple
To share the drive.
implement that and share to them as well.
Yeah. And it's very important. I ran into this at the beginning, that you have to make it available to everyone, because they apparently send it off to other people, and sometimes they get locked out of the drive. And however, though, sends them right back to me.
Yeah.
And I'm at the ready.
It's a good touch point.
Yeah.
So I don't want to touch on one of the things you mentioned, like a mentorship. I think coaching is one of the similar things there.
Yes.
It's one thing to hear it and to see it, and
Right.
it's a whole nother to actually implement it and actually go through and do either what you're seeing them doing or what they're telling you to do, and actually doing that. I think that makes a big difference.
Well, I think that is where a lot of agents fall, because a lot of agents do have great mentors and they do have great coaches, but being able to take what they have said and implement it into your business is the most important part. You can listen to somebody all day, but if you don't ingrain that in yourself and are able to reproduce it in an effective way, all of that is going to be a little fruitless. So that is really the most important thing for you, to find that because you can listen to the most amazing mentor in the world, but if they really don't click with you, and if they're not giving you that information in a way that you really can absorb, it's not going to be as effective as if you're working with somebody that you're a little bit closer to, and that you can parlay those resources that they've given you into your strategies.
Absolutely. So if you take nothing else from this, take that. Implement. Educate your clients, build a relationship with your clients, and be able to implement that education with them in the most effective way possible. Yeah. So what we're going to do now, let's switch this over. Let's do a little Q&A. If anybody has any questions to ask Sarah, feel free. I should have everybody on mute. So take yourself off mute. You can ask a question directly to Sarah, and we can we can hit those here over the next couple of minutes before we sign off. Anybody got any questions?
Anybody got any questions?
you gonna-
Hey, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
I
Can
can.
you all hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to, this may be a silly question, but what does your average day look like, Sarah?
So my average day, I wake up pretty early with my son. It's usually around like 5 or 6 a.m. And I go downstairs and I get him ready for the day. And then he takes a morning nap. In that morning nap, I go over all of my emails and kind of make a focus of for what I want to do that day. And then I also do make a list of everything that needs to be touched on that week, any clients that I need to reach out to, or any loose ends that I need to tie up in that time. And then my Aunt Linda, my baby's my nanny, she comes around 11 a.m. and that is when I really start my day. I start it at my computer. I implement all of those things that I have made the strategy for earlier in the morning. And I usually try and do like a work lunch or something of that sort. I'll usually head into the office, get some paperwork done, so on and so forth with that. And then I'll go to the grocery store and then head home. But then some other days, I will go to a listing presentation or some showings. And that is something that I will also prepare for earlier in the day. Usually listing presentation, I'll have prepared for a little bit before that. But I like to be very prepared and I like to have all the MLS sheets and everything to any showings that I'm going to be going to. So just really making sure that you touch base with all your emails and also touch base with all your clients, especially your listing clients, at least once a week is very, very, very important. Even if it's a completely stale listing and even if it's a no update, they want to hear from you. So that is something that I'll be implementing into my everyday.
Those
Do
are the
you
easiest
have a-
ones. Hey, here's your update. There's no update.
There is no update. So
Do you
well,
have
but
a
then they
social
just
media
have-
strategy?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a social media strategy?
So I do post on social media every day during the week. And then I try to keep a story at all times. So that's Instagram and Facebook. And then I also do email flyers. I don't do the email flyers as very like on a daily basis or anything like that. But I do them as needed. But I post every day. I try to, sometimes.
And Sarah, I think you're big. You mentioned it. Like you get office time every day. Like,
Yeah.
You're big on getting into the office.
Well, there are statistics saying that if getting into the office literally builds your clientele and builds the amount that you will bring to the closing table. So I try to get into the office as much as possible. And I do love my office. It's a great camaraderie. Rachel's usually there. We have our amazing admin. So yeah, so it's a great environment and it will, especially in the beginning, in the earlier stages of my career, I definitely meant to be in the office at least 4 days a week because being able to absorb all of that information, because the real estate process is so intense and long, and if you are really immersed in it, you will be able to parlay that over to your clients in an effective way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
First of all, Sarah, you're fantastic. Your
Oh,
energy,
thanks.
enthusiasm,
I appreciate it.
your energy, enthusiasm probably wins a lot of listings and a lot of sales because you just
Yeah,
have to have it.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
You have to have it. You have to have it. You have to be
Right.
enthusiastic and all that. So that's fantastic. You've done great. Let me ask you this. What is do you know your percentage of listings sold to buyer sales?
I should. There aren't many listings that I've ever had that haven't sold. To be honest,
What I
I think
mean is, at the end of the year, if you've sold 40 houses or 50 houses, whatever you've sold, how
Right.
many are listings and how many are buyers?
Oh, it's usually this true. Well, this year it's been about like 80% listings, 20% buyers. In my previous years, it's been about 50-50. But this year it's been much more listings than buyers. And my relocation director will tell you that if she sends me on a listing presentation, because a lot of times we do corporate relocation, and a lot of times
Right.
it's competitive. And she says that if she sends me on it, then I come back with it. So yeah, I have
Good.
very high
80-20 80-20 is really good. Obviously you control the market if you have listings, right?
right.
And a listing generally takes about 7 or 8 man hours to get to a check, as opposed to a buyer who generally takes, according to NAR, about 40 hours. So it's just a math question that makes much more sense. Selling, working with listings rather than buyers. How do you find your business? Where does your business come from?
Well, a lot of it comes from the Junior League of New Orleans. I mean, it is a huge organization of women,
My
and
sister was the president of the Junior League, as was my mother, and they were both sustainers of the year in the past. And I never get any business from the Junior League. I'm obviously doing something wrong.
Well, I mean, like you said, I think my charisma definitely has a little bit to do with it. But no, I mean, I do a lot of business. Just my husband and I, we have a very large friend group. We are in a bunch of different friend groups. And I mean, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, and I realistically, at the end of the day, I just know a lot of people. And then I also do a lot of corporate relocation, and having that knowledge from that corporate relocation, and being so consistent with that has definitely helped me parlay that into my non-relocation clients. And I do love my sellers, I really do, but I kind of miss my buyers. I really love my buyers. I loved educating
I don't
them.
like any of my buyers or sellers.
I love educating them about the home buying process. And then, but I
Doing the
mean,
wrong,
but I
I
do
must
love
be
my
doing the wrong thing.
No, you hold what you got. You're looking great. No, but no, I love my listings, and I a lot of my listings are first time home sellers as well. So there is a lot of education that goes in that as well. But I basically just do the best I can, and I educate my clients, and I build a relationship with them, and it gets me to the table.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have a close relationship with your photographer. Oh, by the way, Coldwell does a lot of reloads, so I know that's great business for you.
Yes.
And I've known Janet for over 35 years, and her husband and her whole family. But let me ask you this: you said you had a strong relationship with one of your purveyors, and that's your photographer. Do you
Yes.
meet the photographer at when they go to shoot a listing? Do you actually physically meet her there?
Yes, every time. There are a few times that I don't, but I at least like to be there for, 'cause she actually likes it better when I'm not there, to be completely honest. But I always like to go, open the door for her, make sure that she knows exactly my vision for each of the listings, because realistically, there's some things that you want to highlight and some things that you kind of want to just glaze over a little bit. So I make sure that she can see my vision for each of the properties. And then I ask her specifically for the drone shots to have the city in the background wherever they may be located in the greater metropolitan area. So the drone shots in particular, I think, have really elevated my marketing strategy, because I think people just really like seeing that, and it's a little bit different and it's engaging, and having her implement that has been has been tremendous for my business. And I have known her for a very long time. She used to work with iHeartMedia and transitioned to photography. And she's very, very, very good at what she does.
Right. I ask it just because I'm always trying to save time for myself and my assistants, because I have 4 assistants.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
and
I
so,
can actually text you her information
No, no,
at the
no,
end.
no, 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 no. We've got to do, we
No?
got the one on, but I just won't let them go. I won't let them go to closings either, but that's,
Okay.
just because
Oh no, I
just,
go to closings too. Yeah, no, I gotta do it all.
gotcha. Well, look, you're fantastic. It's been a pleasure listening to you, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I was just gonna say that I think it's important to start your business where you are with your group of friends. Like for you, it's the junior league. For me, it's my coffee group. I mean, my first 4 or 5 sales, and I started in 2017 as well, came out of my coffee group, and I've sold 2 or 3 of those people multiple properties at this point. So I think it's important to start where you are and build out from your base. I can't stress that enough.
Yes, I know. I couldn't agree more. I think they call it the sphere of influence, and that is definitely where any new agent should jump off from. Every single person, because no one's going to know that you're an agent unless you directly tell them, and if you're in their face. Explaining all of the necessary things, and I definitely agree with you, and I think that having that really good sphere of influence is a great place to actually start building your clientele base.
Where
You
could I
mentioned,
see I see your binder?
Well, you want to buy a house for me?
No, I'm out of the house buying market, but I was just curious about the binders you put together. I think those are helpful tools.
Yeah, well, if you want to go to any of my listings, that they have a binder in the most auspicious place as soon as you walk in the door, and you'll see it right there.
All right, I'll do that.
Sarah,
All right.
I'll
you had
try and make it
mentioned,
on a
I'm
broker
sorry,
tour or something.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sarah, you had mentioned mentors. Do you, are you in coaching?
Like, I coach other people.
No. Do you have a coach?
I do not have a coach.
That's something
Not
that's
even
helped me over the
really.
last 30 years. I've had a coach for 25 years.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely have thought about it. Adam Stahura has definitely asked if I would like his services, and he's been a good friend of mine, and I definitely have learned a few things from him over the years, just being his friend. But
Who is that?
Adam Stahura, he's with Christian Shane Properties.
He's a coach? He's a
And
local coach?
he is a local coach. Yes. He's
Didn't
amazing,
realize that.
and he's charismatic. He's also the broker of Christian Shane, but he also is a coach, and he was a coach with Jeffrey Duson at Keller Williams for a long time until he made the transition to Christian Shane. And I've thought about it, but using my mentors and just being able to extract the information that they've been able to give me and implement it in my marketing strategies and my clientele base has worked for me. So until it stops working,
Do you use scripts or do
I do
you
not use
wing it?
scripts.
You do not use it.
I mean, like I said, I educate myself as much as possible. I try to speak in complete sentences and complete thought. And I feel like that helps my clients absorb the information in an effective way and allow them to ask the appropriate questions, and just give them time to think about it, and then be able to answer their questions effectively and efficiently, and then having all of the information to back it up. I mean, I can't stress it enough. Education of the processes is the most important thing, so you can be able to communicate with your clients effectively and be able to meet their needs efficiently. So
Well, good. Well, good luck to you.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Sounds like it's a tailored service.
Yeah,
for
well,
each-
I mean, each person is a bit tailored, but I think I build a relationship with them, and then I don't know, and I'm also just me. I think I don't know if that adds to it.
If you can't tell, it's a personality.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just me, and I just go in there, and that's it. That's bada bing, bada boom.
Awesome. Well, any other questions?
Sarah,
About the
I do have a
topic.
question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the great information. I have a question about the corporate relocation leads that you have. Are those leads that are given to you through your broker, or do you have a process for generating those leads?
So those are leads directly given through my brokerage. And as you do better and better, and as you win those listings and get any buyers to the closing tables, they will give you more and more because of your percentage rates and because of your conversion rates. I think I have one of, if not the highest, one of the highest conversion rates of Coldwell Banker. And that is what it allows me to work on that relocation team.
Great. And I have one more question. I heard you say that you give your sellers an engraved gift that has your information on it. What
Yes.
type of gift do you give to your sellers?
It is it's a little bit more expensive than most people like to give, but it is a Cutco chef's knife that it has my engraved information on it, on the side of it. And all
Very
of them
nice.
love it. they're
Fantastic.
yes, yeah.
That's funny. We do cutting boards.
And for my sellers after, like, because a lot of times I've run into the problem where I've already given them a knife and they don't want another of the same knife. So I move on to other, like a cutting board that's engraved, and then like further kitchen tools that are necessary, just so they have, they can see my name whenever they're in their kitchen, which most people use every day.
Fantastic. Awesome idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for jumping on. I know this has been big. Sarah, thank you for coming on with us. A lot of good nuggets in there. So I really like some of the information you were handing out, some strategies, some actions to take. Y'all tune in we'll have another one here in a couple of weeks, but thanks again for jumping on. And y'all ever need anything, feel free to reach out. I know Sarah's probably open as well.
Yeah.
You can find her on the MLS.
Yeah.
And we'll go
Thanks,
from there.
Cameron, for
Thanks
putting this
again.
on.
Yeah, y'all take care.
Yeah. Thank you,
All right,
Cameron. I
buddy.
really appreciate it.